We'll call the City Council work session meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini. Here. Stringham.
Here.
Felder.
Here.
Hayter. Here. Stillgrave. Here. Vining.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here. So we start this with public comment, correct? So I'll see if there's any public comment. Any comment from those present here this evening? Seeing no public comment, clerk, next item.
The next item is the work session agenda, item 5866, overview of proposed ordinance amendments regarding e-bikes.
Thank you, and I see that Director Cochran is here to present on these.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Clerk Treasurer Lavoie, Attorney Buds. What we're bringing forward for final discussion tonight is a culmination of a lot of work by a lot of different people. It started, I believe, with a conversation with you at City Council as we were setting your goals and objectives, but also last year we had some conversations about the impact of e-bike usage across the city and the need to formulate some possible rules, regulations pertaining to the use across the entire city, which certainly has presented a challenge given the complexities of the city and the transportation network that we have from one end of the other. And so we had a conversation with you, and then also the Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail Advisory Committee also considered it and brought forth a series of recommendations that we brought forward to you. I believe it was the first council meeting in March, and we had a discussion about their recommendations. Gathered your feedback, and the result of that feedback from all different parties, including our administrative staff, is what we're putting forth for final consideration tonight before we begin, I guess, the final consideration and approval process. So I'm not going to go through the entire presentation from the March 7th council meeting. However, we talked about the rules and the regulations that govern e-bike use across the city, including state law, federal law with the National Park Service, and also the DNR in the Sterling State Park. But what we're going to focus on tonight is Chapter 199 of the city's ordinances. And we had talked about some proposed changes to that ordinance, as well as a revision to the park rules and regulations, because one governs the use of bicycles and other recreational equipment across the city. But the park rules do call out specific regulations within parks and certain trails as well. And so, as a reminder, the Michigan Vehicle Code does address and define the different types of e-bikes and where they're allowed. And this chart may look familiar from the March 3rd work session. But also wanted to note at the bottom that the state law does require us, if we're going to enact any regulations pertaining to the use of e-bikes, we have to have a public hearing. And so just a reminder, that will be part of the next step. Of course, if we do any ordinance amendments, we always have to have a public hearing as part of that procedure as well. Also, just as a reminder, we do currently prohibit the usage of bicycles, skateboards, rollerblading on certain sidewalks in the downtown area, and that is the map that's shown on your screen. This was something that we reviewed both with the advisory committee as well as City Council in the last presentation. And it's really the core of the downtown, looking at pretty much St. Mary's Park down to First Street, heading south, and then Macomb Street to just past Harrison and Cass Street, where First and Front come together. So now the draft ordinance, we emailed this out over the weekend, does include the following, I guess, revisions that we can talk about. These were the same things that we reviewed at the March 3rd work session. First, if we're going to propose revisions to the chapter, we need to make sure that the definitions align with what those proposed changes may be. Looking at what is the definition of a roadway, a trailway, a sidewalk, and then also e-bikes. And you can see in the definition, the different three classes are called out in the definition there as well in the ordinance. A reminder, a class 1 is only powered with pedal assist, meaning the rider has to pedal to move the bike forward with the assistance of a motor, and the maximum speed that those can be governed is 20 miles an hour. And then that same speed limit is also for a Class 2 bike, but you don't have to pedal, and that is, it can propel forward without pedaling. And then a Class 3, again, pedal assist, but it does have a higher maximum speed, up to 28 miles an hour. Now, we do know that bikes can be modified. The state law prohibits somebody from doing so, but we know that that does happen as well in the real world scenarios. Any questions on the definitions or thoughts on the revised definitions? Okay, a couple more that was added, e-scooters. Of course, the city has some experience with this several years ago when we had an agreement with Bird to operate a fleet of electric scooters throughout the city. And so we included those just in case they do ever want to make a comeback. And of course, they are popular with consumers to purchase on their own if they're not using one that's part of a fleet that you can rent. And then a general term, a micro-mobility device is, in general, refers to an e-scooter, an e-bike, an e-skateboard, e-unicycle, or any lightweight wheeled vehicle that's designed for a single person that's traditionally an alternative to cars and public transit for short urban trips. So there were several sections that we recommend for consideration by council to amend. And that is really these first two is adding some of those other classes of micromobility devices into the existing sections. The first is when you're operating any one of those, including a traditional bike, the language right now only refers to a bicycle, but adding these other micromobility devices for use on a roadway. And that shall be that anybody who is using one of those shall ride in a single file except on paths or part of the roadways designed for the exclusive use of bicycles. So that would be like along North Custer where we have the shoulder or a portion of the shoulder that's designated as a bike lane. Again, that's not a pedestrian trail on the shoulder, but that's for exclusive use of bicycles or other micro mobility devices. And then section 199-4 talks about using one of those without the consent of the owner. So I can't use one of your e-bikes unless you give me permission. And then section 199-9 talks about the use of skateboards. And the proposed revision here is not just saying that it shouldn't be operated on any sidewalk, but in general, keeping it broad that any place where it's open to the public and signs prohibit the operation thereof. That could include sidewalks downtown like it is now, but there's signage prohibiting that stuff. But also like the City Hall courtyard, they're prohibited and there's signs there. So rather than just saying they can't be on any sidewalk, just saying anywhere where there's a sign that prohibits it. And that leaves open for future consideration if council wants to prohibit it in certain areas throughout the city. Any questions on those three revisions?
Back to the skateboards. All the kids skateboard on my block. So can you explain it again to me? Are you saying no skateboards on any sidewalk or any place? Well, you took sidewalks out. So, I mean, where can you ride a skateboard?
Anywhere where you can ride, what this would do, right now you're not allowed to ride them on any sidewalk in the city based on how the language reads. But this revision would allow them to be operated on the sidewalk unless there's a sign that prohibits it in that area.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah. I know in my neighborhood this morning, driving into work this morning on Hollywood Drive, there was an older gentleman riding a skateboard. I presume he was going to work. It was about 8 o'clock in our neighborhood. So then I think the biggest addition to the ordinance would be adding this entire section. So everything you see on the screen would be a new addition. And this would govern any electric assisted micromobility device. So again, an e-bike to e-rollerblades, e-roller skates, e-skateboards. What this says is that you can't attach those to any other vehicle. So you can't hitch your e-skateboard to the back of a car to get somewhere quicker. You can't hitch your bike to the back of a car, and that's out of safety consideration. And then similar language for letter B, any of those classes cannot be operated in a place that's open to the public and where signs prohibit it. So again, we would look at where the usage of these things would be prohibited. We'll get through the presentation. You'll see the recommendation is not to change the regulations downtown, to still prohibit the use of bikes on sidewalks in the existing downtown. So that would be an example where it would be posted that you're not allowed within that specific area. And then letter C talks about really the etiquette when you're riding. And being in courtesy to pedestrians, so yielding the right of way to all pedestrians, so people on foot. And in addition to yielding, when you're passing a pedestrian, it would be part of our ordinance that you must audibly signal that you're about to pass another operator or a pedestrian on the trail. So in addition to educating people that this is typical etiquette when you're on trails or sidewalks to yield to pedestrians and then announce that you're about to pass somebody, it would actually be in our ordinance that that's a requirement. And then the final item is that anywhere where bikes are permitted in those classes of micromobility devices, whether it's on a road, a sidewalk, or a trail, regardless of the classification of your e-bike or micromobility device, there's a speed limit unless it's otherwise posted. So thinking about on the rural trail, what this would interpret to mean is you're allowed to ride a bicycle on the rural trail. However, you can't go over 10 miles an hour and you must yield to pedestrians and audibly announce when you're going to pass. So it's making sure that people are operating them safely on the trails and interacting just as a normal bike does right now. We allow a regular traditional bike on our trails and sidewalks throughout the city, but making sure that people are maintaining a safe speed and then also making sure that they're following those rules of etiquette. We had a lot of conversation, and this was part of our conversation that we had with council on March 3rd about the difficulty of enforcing the different classes and those who perhaps could have a class 2, but they pedal. And use it safely on a trail. If we got into trying to regulate the different classes of bikes in different manners, the trickiness and the challenge with implementing that. So really making sure that anybody who's using our trail on any wheeled device is following the speed limit and also the etiquette.
Questions for Mark? I don't see any.
Ask what a violation of this would be, and it would be a municipal civil infraction if somebody is observed violating a city ordinance. And we'll get into some education recommendations as well for users so that they can understand the rules and the regulations.
Andrew?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I think that I'm clear. I just want to confirm. An e-scooter or a scooter that's a medical assistance device. That would be considered an e-scooter, not a micromobility device. Is that correct?
So because those would fall under accessibility and disability devices, they would not be subject to this ordinance.
Gotcha.
It's a great point, though, that we may consider adding an item in there that discusses that and highlights that.
I don't see any other questions, Mark.
Okay. So the next item, if you'll recall, some members of council, I believe, were here when we eliminated the Recreation Advisory Committee. At that time, the old Recreation Advisory Commission was vested with coming up with the park rules and regulations, as well as reviewing park plans. When the council eliminated that commission, what we did was brought the authority and the responsibility to approve park rules and regulations to council as a policy decision. And then future park improvements are reviewed by the planning commission, just like any other public improvement in general. So what we need to do, because the park rules also call out the use of electric devices within the parks, what this revision would do would require automobiles, but that also includes mini bikes, dirt bikes, four-wheelers, snowmobiles, your recreational vehicles, so to speak. Those are required to stay on paved roadways and parking lots at all times, unless it's otherwise posted. But then when we look at e-bikes, e-scooters, and other micro-mobility devices, they are permitted to be on paved trailways as long as they don't exceed the posted speed limits. And if it's not posted, then the speed limit would be 10, but still requiring folks to follow all the etiquette conditions. What this does is if it's not a paved trail, so think about the trail that goes around Munson, the Stone Chip, non-improved trail, or the trails that are up the orange and the red trail in northern Munson Park. E-bikes would not be allowed on those areas, but traditional bikes are. So we know some of the different bike clubs, and I believe Jack's Bicycle Shop was instrumental in helping to build the courses up in the orange and red trails. Those who do like mountain biking and trail riding would still be permitted to do that, just not if they have electric. And the concern is the speed at which those can go, and also the potential damage with having electric devices up in those areas. But on any paved trail, any paved parking lot, any paved sidewalk that's through the parks, they would still be permitted.
Andrew?
Speed limits for traditional bicycles that don't have speedometers, are we putting up one of the solar-powered radar?
Yep, you're jumping ahead.
Okay, I'll wait for it then.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions I had. I don't know how fast 10 miles an hour is when I'm riding my bike. I know how fast it is when I'm in my car, but not necessarily when I'm on my bike. So the final policy consideration is not changing the downtown sidewalk regulations, particularly at this time. Right now it's signed, but also the discussion is about looking at the placement of bike racks within that area and on the perimeter, encouraging folks to ride around the perimeter of that area where there's no bikes allowed. Park your bike and walk in, or provide options and information on how to navigate the downtown. If you're walking to a destination, say you're going to Altrusa Park, have a designated parking spots for bikes on the perimeter, and then walk the half a block to get to your destination, then walk back. And primarily this is because the front doors of businesses open right up onto the sidewalk. And it can be a tricky challenge. That I believe that was the reason why the rule was adopted in the first place. But also know that this will be an ongoing discussion as we think about the traffic and street configuration downtown and how we accommodate those folks. But for the time being, until we have further deliberation, keeping the policy and the regulation the same in the downtown area.
Kathy?
One of the things I would request is to evaluate where the signs are, because I'm confused and trying to remember when I'm riding, where does it start, where does it end? And I've heard stories about some confusion amongst enforcement too. So just taking a look at that.
It's a great segue into the next slide. So working with Jody Egan in communications, also Director Tolstead, the question about how do you know how fast you're going on a bike? We've seen the solar-powered signs that we have throughout the city that remind folks what the speed limit is and how fast they're going for awareness, but they do make smaller ones that are specifically for trails. So thinking about those long stretches where people are tending to probably go faster, thinking about the World Trail likely from Veterans Park out to Munson, that's a long stretch without any interruption. Having these posted in that area. The new Greenway Loop Trail that construction started on this week, and those longer spans where people can build up speed, having some of these posted strategically. So we don't have anything to show you tonight of where those would be located, but we did get quotes for them, and also know that we've got the ability to adapt those to trails to help folks understand. Also have some examples of how fast 10 miles an hour is and visual demonstrations we can provide to people for frame of reference. And then the signage on the left is not the final sign, so welcome any feedback, input you have. I know we've already gotten some from members of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Trail Advisory Commission, but we wanted to make it eye-catching. We wanted to make it in line with the rest of our park signage, not make it look like your typical regulatory street sign that's white with a red outline and red letters. But make it a little more visually noticing so people can see it. And these can be adopted to both sidewalk stickers. So similar to our social district. When that was implemented, Matt did a great job of coming up with sidewalk stickers that we place at the entry point to the social district and the exit point, but also signs at every one of those locations as well. So you knew when you were entering the social district. So Councilwoman, to your point, having these signs and reevaluating the signage plan for downtown, and also making sure that they're at a height where people will notice them and see them, and also for those who may be looking down, that they can see them in that area. And again, encouraging, you may have seen in the kiosk right now, there's a walk your wheel sign in the kiosk downtown to help with that education. But having these signs very consistent throughout all of our trail networks so that people can see them and understand the rules and the regulations. And then we'll work on this. QR codes, whether we include them on signs now is a topic of discussion because they can have a cybersecurity risk to them with somebody putting a different one over it. So we're rethinking our use of QR codes in all of our postings and in education, but an easy way for folks to reference the full set of rules and regulations like we do in the parks for park rules. So this is just a mock-up, but the plan, if council were to proceed with the implementation of any of these policy changes, would be to work within administration on how to educate. And then also, of course, through our normal channels with the e-newsletter, our partnership with Monroe Community Media and the ability to produce video content for our social channels from Facebook and Instagram, our website, and then also when we've done selective enforcement on bicycles and education in the past, the Public Safety Department has been a great partner in that, in helping to inform people when they're violating it, letting them know the rules, the regulations, and do some targeted education enforcement in partnership with their routine efforts as well. So recognizing any change, we're going to have a lot of information to share. I know Jack's Bicycle Shop is obviously a local seller of e-bikes, so making sure perhaps that there's a pamphlet or something that he can hand out to folks who are buying new e-bikes in the city, letting them know the rules and the regulations upon purchase as well. So,
Comments, discussion, Kelly?
Sorry to go off topic. Can you tell me about this Monroe Community Media? Is that formerly known as Impact?
yep,
Okay.
yep.
I didn't realize they changed their.
They're in the process of it. So they started it, I believe it was probably about a month and a half ago, looking at a rebranding and a renaming of themselves because they do a lot more than just public access channel work. So between 94.3 and of course the great partnerships that they have with us and some of their member organizations, removing the sometimes dated stigma of a public access channel to think about them in much more of a fashion and avenue for getting information out.
Thank you.
Questions, comments for the presentation? Kathy?
I think you're about done, so I'll just give my final thought. I've probably been quieter than this presentation than any of the other ones on this subject. As you know, I'm very interested in it as an active participant myself. And I feel like we've went in the right direction with the speed limit so that people can encourage, everyone at different ages, different abilities to get out and be active. And so I'm very happy to see with how we're coming along with this. So thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Oh, Michelle?
Want to add about the scooter issue, the handicap scooter, and because I can see, especially at Munson Park, going down that little, I can see a few people using that as a road with that little scooter.
Yeah, and I
around
would say
town.
whether we include that in our ordinance or not, language about that, the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act is always going to trump any ordinance we pass. And if somebody needs those for ability purposes, there would certainly, they would have the right to do so under federal civil rights legislation.
Something to think about, that's all.
Yeah. Other comments? Seeing none. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. I would say we've had great input from a lot of different people. This is certainly, I think we are blazing a trail here because as we have discussions like with the county about their new trail, even the regional trail network meetings that Matt and I attend, everybody's saying, what do we do? And so I think this is a reasonable start. I'll recall my former boss used to say that the last perfect law came off the mountain on 2 stone tablets, and this is probably something that we're gonna want to revisit as we go through implementation and see how it works, and certainly in partnership with public safety, what their experiences in enforcement are, and then of course your observations when you're around the city on how people are behaving. So,
Very good. We have another item, clerk, correct?
We do. It is item 5865, which is an overview of former St. Mary Academy and Community Reimagined Brownfield plans.
I know, Mark, you're going to continue on this one, correct? Thank you.
I do apologize, the date is wrong on both of these presentations, but today is April 20th. So I believe it was probably back, I forget what the date was, but we did an overview for both the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority and for City Council about brownfield plans and what they are, how they work, what they do, but also the change that occurred, I believe it was 2 years ago, that the state legislature opened up and the governor signed a revision to Act 381 that defined any activities pertaining to the redevelopment and development of housing as an eligible activity. So it became a new tool in the toolbox of municipalities across the state of Michigan on how to incentivize affordable redevelopment for housing, whether that's the rehabilitation of existing or the construction of new. And so I'm not going to go through the entire presentation that we went through the last time because we actually have 2 live projects to talk about tonight and where they're at in the process. So this is just a reminder what Act 381 of 1996, April 2025 at the top. Act 381 talks about what are the rights of municipalities to create a brownfield redevelopment authority and what are the tools that they can use to redevelop brownfield sites. But you'll see at the end, there was the addition, which is to promote the utilization of certain property for housing development. And of course, the Lazy Boy site was our last brownfield project that we worked on here at the city. I'm also not going to go through this entire slide, but it's a refresher of what you saw last April, except for the addition of what you see in red. These are considered what are traditional activities. So you might remember last April we did a pop quiz where we showed different sites and asked which of these is a brownfield. didn't stump you all very well because you figured it out as we were going through the plan. But when you think of a brownfield, you think of contamination and the need to clean it up. And those are the traditional activities like demolition, lead, asbestos, mold abatement, cleaning the dirt, and the different response activities like removing underground storage tanks, cleaning up dry cleaner sites, things of that sort. Those are what are considered traditional brownfield activities. But the addition was housing activities, and what that includes is really any activity that supports improvements necessary for housing property and housing development activities. And so they kept it very broad in terms of what are those eligible activities. And in general, it can range from everything from the purchase price of a property to convert it into housing to the construction of the kitchen for that housing unit, leaving it very broad, but it's any activity that is meant to support the redevelopment of affordable housing. And we'll talk about how that mechanism works, but just wanted to remind you that there's traditional brownfield and there's housing brownfield. So a reminder about our Brownfield Authority. This was also a slide from that April presentation. The one addition is we do have a new member of our Brownfield Authority, Allie Races, I believe is her name. She works for SimCog, and she's been a great new board member, diving right into this very complicated work. But we have, I put this slide up as a reminder to council that we've had 27 brownfield plans that have been approved since 1997 when the Brownfield Authority was established. And that was everything from the port and Vin Tower to things like the old Farmer Jack site or the ProMedica rehab site. That was one of the sites. To some of the existing ones like the former Lazy Boy headquarters was the most recent. So we've got 5 that are currently active. And what I mean by active is there are eligible costs that a developer can be reimbursed once they pay their taxes. So similar to the Downtown Development Authority, when there's incremental increases in the value of a property and a developer pays the taxes on that incremental increase, we capture those new taxes and repay the developer for anything that was related or eligible under the Brownfield Act. Is that clear? I know this is complicated stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll use an example right now. So we've got the St. Mary Academy project that we're going to talk about here in a minute. Right now, because that's owned by the sisters, the taxable value is 0 because they're nonprofit. Any growth in the value after the developer purchases it and starts redeveloping, they're taxed on that value because it goes back on the tax roll. So the difference there is their taxes are levied against that incremental value increase. And what the Brownfield Authority is captures those. So instead of those taxes going to the taxing jurisdictions like the county or the city or the schools, the Brownfield Authority captures those and repays the developer for their costs that are eligible under the Brownfield Act. It's hard to simplify. So we've got 5 active sites: Mason Run, the Vin Tower property, iSurgeon Associates, that's the property just south of St. Joe Cemetery on Monroe Street. They had a brownfield plan where they demolished the old building and built their new office building. The Port of Monroe has an area-wide brownfield that includes several different parcels. And then the most recent one was the former Lazy Boy headquarters. So those are the 5 sites right now that we are actively repaying a developer for. So at the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting in April, the board approved 2 new brownfield plans. And these are both on your agenda tonight. Once the Brownfield Authority approves them, City Council has to approve them before they become final. And so the process includes you scheduling a public hearing, holding a public hearing, and approving the Brownfield plan, and that will trigger that capture and reimbursement. In both of these, they do have to go to the state for approval. In any brownfield plan, if you're proposing to capture school taxes, the state education tax, it's 18 mills. The state has to approve that, but it allows you more taxes you can capture to be repaid back quicker. Sometimes it's not worth the fight to go through all that, and they just capture the local taxes. But in a housing plan, which both of these are, those have to go to MISTA for them to approve. So after you approve it, next it'll go to MISTA and they have to approve it. So it's a bit of a process. So tonight, we just wanted to give you the nuts and bolts of both of these plans in advance of your consideration and approval at the second May meeting. So the first is a project I think we're all aware of at some level. This is the former St. Mary Academy property. Keith Mazarant, KM Cornerstone, is the developer. There are two, in order to become a brownfield site, you have to deem why it's eligible. In this case, it's eligible because it's a housing project, but also because the assessor's office has said it's obsolete. It's blighted, it can't be used for what it was originally built for anymore. And then what are the activities? So the academy has those traditional brownfield activities. And by that, we mean the lead and asbestos abatement activities are traditional brownfield activities. But we've also got the housing development activities that are part of this project. So I think most of you have been through it at this point, if not all. But we know it's the 5-story building. The vision is for the first 2 floors to be commercial, upper 3 floors to be residential. Right now, the plan is for 116 new apartments, 2-bedroom. All of them will be 2-bedroom. And 71 of them will be affordable, which means they will be rented out and the rent must be certified and income must be certified every year. For 71 of those units for individuals making between 60% and 120% AMI. And last April, we went through those charts that talked about how you figure out that. And I can always send them again if you'd like a refresher. The development will also include the lobby where the marble staircase is, a dedicated elevator for the residential units, proposed daycare, outdoor play area for that daycare, fitness areas. We've talked about a partnership with the YMCA, and then the commercial space as well, the chapel, of course, the museum in the building, and then also the addition of a parking structure for 88 parking spaces on each floor. If you'll remember, the plan for that is to be tucked away in between the mother house and the academy where it wouldn't be seen from the road, it wouldn't be seen from the neighborhood. And then public right-of-way improvements that include landscaping, street lighting, and utility upgrades to support the development too. Any questions on the development plans?
I don't see any. Oh, Kelly?
So, all the apartments are gonna be 2 bedrooms, so there won't be any studios, or, I know we talked about different sizes, maybe some.
So right now, we're just talking about the upper 3 floors of the main structure. You may remember there's what's called G-Wing, which is between the auditorium and the main structure itself. It's that 4-story building. He hasn't quite figured out what he's doing with that yet. Those may be studio or efficiency apartments. We've talked about the nuns who aren't ready to move into the mother house, but they don't need a lot of space, or young working professionals just starting out, things of that sort. So I would say there's still an opportunity to explore that further. So 71 affordable, the remainder would be market rate. So this chart is straight out of the brownfield plan, and what this does is lay out the total eligible costs. So I believe we're looking at a whole plan or whole development cost of about $109 million at this point. What this chart lays out is there is 20, if you look at the bottom of that second to the right column, all the way in the bottom in blue, $27,389,735 in eligible cost to repay the developer. So that would be tax capture that the city captures and repays to Mr. Mazarant. And then the column on the left lays out what exactly is he being reimbursed for. So the work plan is the $16,875. That is the development of the entire brownfield plan. And then you'll see the cost for demolition activities. And I always preface this when we talk about this publicly, there's not going to be any exterior demolition of the building. This is the interior removal of walls, things of that sort. You'll see that there's about $2.8 million in lead, asbestos, and mold abatement activities. That's at traditional. Site plan activities is the work that needs to be done on the outside of the building. So that's infrastructure, that's site prep work, redoing the parking lots, things of that sort. Eligible infrastructure is that 8.1 million. We're talking about water, sewer, roads, street lights, traditional infrastructure that supports the development. And all of those costs total about just under $16 million just in those traditional activities. There is a 15% contingency of about 2.4 million that's added on to that. And then the cost Keith has incurred to develop this plan, including the MISTA portion of the plan, is $30,000, and he can be repaid for that as well. And then there's the housing subsidy. So what you do for a housing subsidy to determine that is you look at, MISTA puts out the control rents for a community every year. So what is the highest rent in a community? And then Keith had to put pencil to paper and say, how much is he gonna rent these for? And you look at, if you're renting them for somebody who would be between 60 to 120% AMI, their rent and housing costs cannot be more than 30% of that. So you break down what those rents are and you subtract that from the state mandated housing, and he can be subsidized for that loss, so to speak. He could rent them for this much, but right now he's only renting them for this much. So that gap that's set by how much it's going to cost to construct each unit, that is what MISTA and what the act was updated to allow to be repaid back for. So if he's charging $1,300 for a unit, he's not going to be repaid $1,300. But if the control rent is $3,100, don't fall off your seat. That is what MISTA says for Monroe. That difference between $3,100 and $1,300 is what he can be subsidized for. And that's what that 6.5 million is. Okay. So total activities of $24.8 million for environmental and housing. And then the Brownfield Authority is allowed, because as you can imagine, it costs money to administer these. For the Brownfield Authority to certify all the costs and repay the developer every year, they are allowed to capture 10% and keep for their costs the Brownfield Authority. And then the state does have a revolving fund that each brownfield plan contributes to, and those are funds that the state developers can tap into. So every brownfield plan in the state of Michigan typically contributes to that. So this total plan would be a support in the amount of just about $27.4 million over 30 years.
Kelly?
Okay, for clarification's sake. So does Mr. Mazarin or the company have to spend the 27 million first?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're eligible to capture back a portion, but it's spread out over 30 years. So I would divide that 24.8 by 30 years.
Yep.
Oh, okay, here you go.
That's a great question, because brownfield plans, these are all just estimates at this point, because he hasn't done any work to know what the final costs end up being. So a brownfield plan is solely based on estimates, and he's only reimbursed for what he actually spends. So if this is a $24.8 million plan and the project only costs $19 million, not only will he be very happy, but the Brownfield Authority will only reimburse him that $19 million cost that he actually incurred.
And in turn, what he's giving us is taxable housing, in this case, that we as a locality will continue to capture property taxes.
Yeah, so this brownfield plan will only cover those eligible activities, but the development includes much more than those eligible activities. So example, he is spending $109 million on this development. we're only reimbursing for a portion of these costs. So like the commercial spaces, he's going to rent those out every year, right? I think there's 32 of them is what are planned right now. He will not get reimbursed for those costs for doing that because that's revenue generating for him, and that's not what MISTA subsidizes. So he'll get reimbursed for the asbestos abatement in those activities because that's traditional brownfield activities. But he'll be collecting income above and beyond that. And all areas of the building will be taxed differently. Also, the benefit to the city is this 270,000 square foot, 16-acre site is going to be reactivated rather than sitting there empty. And we will have 116 new housing units that are helping to address the housing needs in our city. Also, hopefully spur increased property values in the surrounding area. And then also hopefully spur additional activity that supports this development itself.
Definitely.
It's a great question.
The questions?
So it is reimbursement based. The future taxable value is only based on an estimate. And there is a 2% increase every year in the taxable value. It could be more, could be less. And then it is the maximum you can go by state law is a 30-year plan. So Councilwoman, to your point, he's going to spend all of this up front, but then get repaid over the course of 30 years. If at the end of the course of that 30 years, the taxable value of the property didn't generate enough income to meet that $24 million, it's an understood in the reimbursement agreement that we do not have to pay above and beyond what's actual captured during that 30 years. That makes sense. 10% capture for the Brownfield Authority. The TIF tables or the actual table itself, if you're interested, we can show how all of this breaks down each of those 30 years in terms of what is the estimated capture and how's it going to be reimbursed. There was discussion about possibly doing an OPRA or a tax abatement on it, but that would not serve the developer well because he's receiving a tax abatement, meaning he wouldn't be paying taxes on that, so we wouldn't capture taxes to reimburse him. So in instances where that helps is if you need the money every year to not pay taxes. So you could do that for a period, but he's not opting to do that. So, and then again, the housing TIF is based on a MISTA controlled rent of $3,315 for the Monroe County area. Obviously, that is not the market rate for housing in our area, but MISTA has a certain way in which they calculate that every year. But it helps in this case to increase the amount of capture that's available for the development. Okay, so next steps, you're going to see in your May 4th agenda packet, the May 18th agenda packet, the full Brownfield plan that the Brownfield Authority approved last week. Certainly, if you would like a copy of that or you would like to go through it, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and walk through exactly what that looks like. But you'll see that full Brownfield plan because it's up for approval. There is required to be a public hearing. And just so you know, we are required. So tomorrow, if City Council sets a public hearing date tonight, we are required to do a notice to all the taxing jurisdictions that City Council is considering this approval, and they can come and be heard. They cannot opt out of it, though. So if anybody objects, they can come talk about their objections, and then City Council would consider it. We also have to do a reimbursement agreement. So with every Brownfield plan, there's an agreement between the Brownfield Authority and the developer that states how we are going to reimburse. So that will come. The developer is going to complete the financial pro forma, so continuing to refine and evaluate that construction budget. He still has to purchase the property. So right now the IHM still own it. And then again, the next step is to send it up to the state after City Council approves it.
We're good.
Okay, so this is going to look very similar because it's another housing project. I would say these are at two separate ends of the spectrum. The Academy was 270,000 square feet, 116 units, $24 million. This next one is not that. So the Welcome Homes Orchard Redevelopment Project is the project that the city has been supporting since the beginning in terms of an agreement with the developer, Community Reimagined, who are here with us tonight. This is the property at 1026 and 1030 East 2nd Street. The developer, they are proposing to build, we'll talk about it on the next slide, but it is a housing project. So it's also a facility because there were environmental assessments done on this property and there is some environmental concerns that are being addressed. So there is a little bit of traditional activity, but not nearly the amount, not 2.7 million like we saw for the Academy project. But the eligible activities that the developer will be repaid back for this one are the housing development activities only, so not those traditional brownfield activities. So this development is the construction of 3 duplexes, 3 buildings, each with 2 bedroom units in each building. 2 of those will be designated for homeless individuals to support them transitioning from homelessness to having a permanent residence. 2 of those will be designated for very low income, which is 30% of the AMI or below, average median income, and then 2 low income units, which is 50% AMI or below. So remember the Academy, we were talking 60 to 120%. These 6 units are going to be for those under 60% of the AMI. And then those who reside in these will go through a tenant selection process with Community Reimagined. And then, as we've talked about with council before, the plan is to construct them out of shipping containers, which minimizes the infrastructure needed, but also the ground disturbance because those are built on a slab on grade. So you don't have to dig into the ground with this type of format of housing. So this project, the eligible cost is $1.5 million that will be repaid to the developer. You'll see that the preparation of the brownfield plan and implementation, because every year you have to provide certification to the authority, is about $30,000. And then that housing TIF that we talked about, the subtraction of the rent from the controlled rent, is about $1.3 million. So a total cost of $1.4 million in eligible activities. And then the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority administration fee is only 5% for this plan. So because this development needs every dollar of brownfield TIF reimbursement it can get, and also because they are serving a very income restrained households, the Brownfield Authority was okay with reducing that down to 5% so the developer can be reimbursed more every year. And then that contribution to the state revolving fund. So a total for this brownfield plan over 30 years to reimburse Community Reimagined would be $1.5 million. So again, forecasting out the 2% increase in taxable value every year, a 30% capture, a 5% administration fee, and then a control rent of $2,000 rather than that $3,315, only because we need to maximize the TIF capture to reimburse the developer, but also because we are not looking at a mix of market rate and also affordable housing, that these are strictly considered typically low-income housing, so the lower control rent. Same process, both of these are going to walk with us together. So on May 18th, you'll also have a public hearing if you set it tonight. And then develop a reimbursement agreement between the Brownfield Authority and the developer, execute the property purchase from the city, finalize the reimbursement agreement, and send this up to MISHDA. So 2 very similar projects in terms of the composition in the process, but totally different projects in terms of the amounts and the eligible activities.
Questions for Mark? Community Reimagined? Kelly?
So again, these are 2-bedroom units.
Yes. Yep.
Do we know what the square footage on them will be?
It's in the brownfield plan, I know,
Okay, so
but I
we'll
don't
see
have it
that.
off the top of my head.
We'll see that later.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. It's around 900. Okay.
Michelle?
So what if they have zero income, which a lot of the homeless do? Where do
Yep.
they belong?
So these would be supported through a supportive housing plan. So subsidized housing to help with the homeless transition until they start generating an income and the ability to move into different income bracket housing typologies.
Other questions?
So again, this is just an overview tonight. If you'd like to see the full plan ahead of time, you're more than welcome. I can print it for you. They are a couple hundred pages, so I'll caution you with that. If you would just like to sit down and talk more about it and learn more about it, I'm open and available to that as well.
Okay. Any more questions? A lot of information, Mark, and obviously the plans are within the packets here as well. They can look at them ahead of time and be prepared for the next meeting on this meeting.
Yep.
Tonight's meeting. So very good. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I don't think we have any other items as time permits because we have 4 minutes, and then we'll start the special council meeting at 7 o'clock. So this time I'll close the work session. We got a couple minutes. Council special meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jermaine? Here. Stringham?
Here.
Felder? Here. Hayter? Here. Steelgrave?
Here.
Vining? Here. Mayor Clark?
Here. Next is public comment. So we'll start with this special city council meeting. Is there any public comment? Any comments from the public before we start? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item. Clerk?
The next item is item 5874, approval of retirement, separation, and release agreement for David Robinson.
Very good, thank you. Our city attorney, Mr. Buds, I think you're gonna kind of introduce and speak about this and then some things later too.
Yes, Your Honor and Counsel, as you know, City Manager David Robinson has informed the city of his intention to retire at the conclusion of his employment agreement on June 30th of 2026. Based on that, in order to facilitate that transition, a proposed agreement was prepared with the Director of Human Resources and our Labor and Employment Council, which I reviewed as well. And had been in contact with Mr. Robinson about, and therefore the proposed action item this evening at this special meeting is to consider and approve the retirement, separation, and release agreement with Mr. Robinson. And then I guess I would ask that we handle that first, and then after that I'll have some additional comments on next steps if that should proceed.
I guess I'll see if there's any questions or comments. I see Mr. Councilman Hayter.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to make a motion to approve the retirement, separation, and release agreement with Dave Robinson and authorize the mayor and city clerk treasurer to sign the agreement on behalf of the city.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilman Hayter, supported by Councilwoman Steelgrave on item 5874, the approval for the retirement, separation, and release agreement for David Robinson. Any other comments from council? Well, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jermaine?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder? Yes. Hayter? Yes. Steelgrave?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. So we don't have any other items on the agenda. I know that Attorney Budge, you have an item that we have to move into this, but also into the next, right?
I do. Just as for the next meeting, I'm going to make a request at the beginning that we amend the agenda to have a discussion of, I'll call it city manager transition and acting city manager. I will say for purposes of our 7:30 meeting, I understand and know, and you all do obviously also based on the recent work session topics that Mr. Cochran is here, and that according to our past practice, when the city manager was away, Mr. Cochran stepped into the role and sat in the manager's seat for purposes of the meeting. In light of the recent action, I would entertain that unless there's objection that Mr. Cochran serve in the role of acting city manager this evening for purposes of this meeting, and then we have discussion at the conclusion as the last action item during the regular 7:30 meeting as to next steps regarding acting city manager until further action of the council.
If I understand correctly, in the employment agreement with Mr. Cochran, it's also stated those actions or that duties would fall with him. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, and also it has been our practice that when the city manager is away, that he would step into that role. Obviously, for full disclosure, we have another assistant city manager, Mr. Sell, finance director, who I also had conversation with today, and obviously he is willing to do anything necessary to assist the city as well. But we did have dialogue about the suitability, I guess I'll say, of Mr. Cochran serving in that role, at least for tonight, for purposes of the 7:30 meeting.
Okay. And as we know, years past, we had Mr. Sell did serve as acting city manager as well as the time when we made selections years ago. So any questions or comments just for discussion? We're not taking action on this, but Attorney Buzz is asking that we amend the agenda to handle that item so that way we have it for the future moving forward. As I think we know, we chatted, there's a lot more that gets done in this process, and I think if we start here, then that will form together whether with human resources, whether it's personnel committee, all the topics that we've talked about before when we go with this type of transition. What is the route that we're going to take? So we're going to have discussion on that, I know, coming forward as a council for council's input, discussion, as well as the process.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Councilman Vining?
What exactly, we were adding this at the end of council action?
Correct. And I'll give an introduction because I think we need to do it as part of the 7:30 meeting also. So when that meeting opens, I'll give this similar introduction as well. But I wanted to make sure there weren't any objections to Mr. Cochran sitting in this seat at the beginning of the 7:30 meeting just for administrative purposes and keeping the meeting moving forward this evening.
Administrative as he has done in the past. For
Correct.
the meeting, and then we'll have the agenda item for the discussion.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments? Clerk Lavoie, anything further?
No, I think I'm fine.
Okay. As far as the agenda items, that's the only thing we had item, unless there's a question from council or a discussion you want to have at this point, or it can come at the 7:30 meeting. That's what we need.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion from Councilwoman Germaine, supported by Councilwoman Stringham to adjourn. There's no other comments. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaine?
Yes.
Stringham? Yes. Felder?
Yes.
Hayter?
Yes.
Stillgrave?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
We'll see everybody at 7:30. Call the city council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jermaine?
Here.
Stringham? Felder?
Here?
Hader?
Here.
Stillgrave?
Here.
Vining?
Here.
Mayor Clark?
Here, I'd ask you all please rise for the invocation, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We ask for your guidance this evening as we move forward as one. Please look over us as we make many decisions this evening that will benefit and impact those around us, calling this community home.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the regular agenda.
So from our session earlier, Mr. Buds, Attorney Buds, you have an item for the regular agenda?
In light of the item approved at the 7 o'clock special meeting, I would request that when we get to the approval of the agenda, that there be an item added as the last item of council action following item 5864, entitled Acting City Manager.
Thank you. So, Mr. Buds, you say that when we get to the council action? Or this time?
Well, I think it would be appropriate at this time if there's approval of the agenda with that amendment. I was trying to make it so it could be one
got it.
motion altogether.
I want to make sure. So is there any other items on the agenda from council? If not, a motion would be or Councilman Hader?
Motion to approve the regular agenda with the one amendment.
About the acting city manager, correct?
Yep.
Okay. There's a motion from Councilman Hader, supported by Councilwoman Stillgrave, on the approval of the regular agenda with the added item about the acting city manager. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Jermaine?
Yes.
Stringham? Yes. Felder?
Yes.
Hader?
Yes.
Stillgrave? Yes. Vining? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is the consent agenda, and for approval of payments, the amount should read $1,684,257.16. 1684257.16.
Thank you. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council wishes to have pulled for further discussion? We have 3 items on the consent agenda. Seeing none from the council. Any items on the consent agenda those present here this evening wish to have pulled for further discussion? If none are pulled for further discussion, they'll be included with the one motion for all items. Any items on the consent agenda? We'll have the council action later. Seeing none, Councilman Felder?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion that all items on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilwoman Stillgrave, that all items on the consent agenda be accepted, placed on file, recommendations carried out, and resolutions adopted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Hader? Yes. Stillgrave? Yes. Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item on the agenda is under presentations, communications, and public hearings. Item 5702, United Way 100th Year Proclamation.
Thank you. We have a proclamation that we're not going to be presenting this evening because it'll be a special event that will occur on the day in which is May 9th, in which is proclamation to the United Way of Monroe and Lenawee counties, and collectively are celebrating the 100th anniversary. And it talks about all the items that were the United Way, and I look around the room and I know many people here are involved with the United Way, whether volunteering or on projects, serving on boards, all those items that they do. They've been around, like I said, for 100 years. But on May 9th, they're going to have their special celebration, and the proclamation will be presented at that time. But we wanted to bring notice to it here at this meeting for those that are here and those that are watching about, as you know, the United Way. And I guess one comment I'll make, I think about the 211 and that call, how many calls that come here into the city hall that I know people are asking, and it's so simple to say you're looking for information that you can get by dialing this. And so they make a lot of connections. So we appreciate all they do. And I know that the city has had a partnership with the United Way for many years, and many employees support the United Way through their, I'll say, partnership collection and helping them out. So thank you.
The next item is item 5852, Arbor Day, April 2026.
So we have a proclamation for Arbor Day. Every year we get to do this. This year is April 24th. It's actually this Friday. So we're going to be presenting that at a special meeting with the students at Manor School, as well as Manor Park, as we plant trees and have the opportunity to have the students help. I know that the staff here from the DPS and engineering it's always fun to be with the kids, and we have displays for them to learn about work within the city and opportunities that may present as they see some of the equipment, but also to help plant the trees. So this is a proclamation and just talks, of course, about how the Arbor Day got started, and we're going to be presenting that on April 24th, which is Friday morning at Manor School and Manor Park. So just awareness for that. Next item, please.
The next item is 5862, the Opportunity Center at ALCC, 2026, first quarterly report.
Looking at Assistant City Manager, Mr. Cochran, I know that this is a communication.
Sir, so in accordance with the lease and operating agreement that we have with MCOP to operate the Arthur Laszlo Community Center and the Opportunity Center, there to submit a quarterly report, which Stephanie is in the audience this evening. That's been submitted for you for your review to place on file.
Thank you. I'll just see if there's any questions. If not, we did receive the report. It's a communication we receive, gets put on file and on a quarterly basis. See no comments. Thank you for being here, Stephanie. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is item 5859, public hearing on the Michigan CDBG Disaster Recovery Grant application.
And this one may not go quite as quick, but Mr. Cochran.
Mayor, Council, for purposes of introduction, you may recall that in 2023, the city experienced a major rain event, which resulted in a presidential disaster declaration for both Monroe and also Oakland and Macomb counties. With that, Congress approved a special appropriation for disaster recovery for those impacted with that disaster. Those funds are being distributed both directly through the Economic Development Administration, but also through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, through what's called the CDBG Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery. So there is two pots of funds available for those impacted communities, of which Monroe is one. One for planning purposes, for response and resiliency against future natural disasters, but also for infrastructure improvements. And so when we took a look at what are the needs of the community, when we think about resiliency and natural disasters to prevent significant damage in the future, what we're proposing is to submit two applications. One is to update the city's comprehensive master plan, which is required of us to do every 5 years. The last time we did it was 2017, but we've updated it a couple times with the addition of some of our sub-area plans. But comprehensively needing to update that land use master plan to look at things like housing, but also how a community can respond with resilience to prevent future natural disasters in terms of future infrastructure needs and trying to understand and forecast those. So that application would be one. And then the other for infrastructure, we've got one application that we're preparing to the Economic Development Administration to look at the W streets, Waterloo, Winston, Woodville, in that area. They experience frequent flooding, and that is an eligible project under the federal funds, but through the state, looking at a residential neighborhood, the Orchard East neighborhood, whenever there's a large rain event, or when the Lake Erie starts roaring and pushes water into the Orchard East neighborhood, what we're proposing is an application for $5 million to both come up with a plan and then also the necessary infrastructure to address that in the future for the Orchard East neighborhood. So we're proposing those two applications that meet the requirements of the grant, but part of what the state requires through CDBG, just like our typical CDBG allocation, is to hold a public hearing. which you had previously scheduled at the last meeting. So tonight, we just have to have a public hearing to take comment on those two plans to submit forward.
Thank you, and I appreciate the background information because it really gives a little more depth to, as you get through the process of hearing it at the last meeting, but also here this evening. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing to see if there's any comments from those present here this evening on item 5859, public hearing on the Michigan CDBG, Community Development Block Grants, Disaster Recovery Grant Applications, and as Mr. Cochran said, there's two. Any comments, any public comments from those present? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is 5851. The next item is 5851, public hearing, proposed ordinance 26-005.
Assistant Manager Cochran?
Yes, so our city charter requires us to adopt a budget by the end of April every year. So we had the comprehensive work session, the special work session with council on March 30th, where we walked you through the proposed budget, and then Assistant City Manager, Finance Director Ed Sell finalized the budget, and that is what's up for a public hearing tonight before approval. Just a reminder that this does cover both the next fiscal year, but also the 2 years after, because we do 3-year budgets in budget forecasting here at the city. It will also include a budget amendment for the current fiscal year, looking through the end of June at June 30th, but also covers things like the millage rates that are to be levied, as well as the various fee schedules that the departments charge for different purposes. So the public hearing tonight is for the budget ordinance amendment. Budget ordinance.
Sure. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing for item 5851, public hearing proposed ordinance 26-005, as was briefed by Mr. Cochran. Any public comments regarding the budget? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Thank you. Next item, please.
07, public hearing, proposed ordinance 26-004.
Thank you. Mr. Cochran, again, please.
Yes, so this proposed budget amendment is for Chapter 127, the Retirement System Ordinance. And what this does is memorializes the eligibility for those who are eligible underneath the retirement system, and supports your goal of succession planning, particularly within the public safety department, the leadership transition. So this, what this does is confirms and finalizes the eligibility and limits for the recent agreements that we had with Director Tolstead as well as Commander Lindsay for their retirement and continued service.
Thank you. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing on item 5807, public hearing proposed ordinance 26-004. I know we've had previous discussions at previous meetings regarding this item as well from during work sessions, but also through human resources. Any comments from those present here this evening for this public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is proposed ordinance 26-004, amendment to Chapter 127, Retirement System Ordinance.
Thank you. As we move to council action, Assistant Manager Cochran, any additional comments?
Nothing further unless the council has comments, and certainly Dr. Everly is here and available to answer any questions or provide additional feedback if you wish.
Any comments from council? If not, this item is up for council action. Councilwoman Stringham.
Make a motion to move to place ordinance 25-004, amendment to Chapter 127, Retirement System Ordinance on the floor for its final reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Stringham, supported by Councilwoman Stilgrave on item 5801, proposed ordinance 26-004. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini? Yes. Stringham? Yes. Felder? Yes. Hayter?
Yes.
Stilgrave?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Ordinance 26-004, amendment of Section 127 of the Retirement System Ordinance, the City of Monroe ordains.
Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder? Yes. Hayter? Yes. Stilgrave?
Yes.
Vining? Mayor Clark?
Yes.
The next item is item 5850, budget ordinance fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027.
Assistant Manager Cochran, anything further?
Further, but just the same, Assistant City Manager, Finance Director Sell is here to answer any questions or provide feedback if you need.
There's Councilwoman Germaini.
Move that ordinance number 26-005, the budget ordinance, be placed on the floor for its final reading.
Motion by Councilman Germaini, supported by Councilman Hayner on item 5850, budget ordinance fiscal year ending June 30, 2027. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder? Hayter? Stilgrave? Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Ordinance 26-005, Budget Appropriation Act, July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027. An ordinance to approve the budget for the City of Monroe for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2027. The City of Monroe ordains.
Shall this ordinance pass?
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder? Hayter? Stilgrave? Vining? Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Next item is item 5868, City Hall Backup Generator Bid, Revised Award.
Mr. Cochran.
Yes, so one of our prior CIP projects was to replace the generator here at City Hall, primarily to help with the backup of the City Hall's data center and our computer systems. This was one of the capital improvements projects, and City Council did award a bid to Decima LLC at the March 16th meeting. However, they came back and let us know that they couldn't uphold the terms of the bid that they had submitted. And so what is before you tonight is a proposed different agreement from Regent Electric, again, to upgrade the current generator to provide backup services for our IT, as well as the existing capacity with some of the emergency services here at the city. And so we're putting forth the new bid for your approval, given the other vendor dropped out. This one did come in a little bit higher, and so we do need an appropriation to be made from the capital projects fund balance, primarily to cover the 10% contingency for the project. But this would be to move forward, and as well as in accordance with our emergency operations planning.
Thank you. Any questions from city council or council members? If not, this item is up for action. Councilman Hayter.
I make a motion that mayor and city council approve the city hall backup generator bid submitted by Region Electric in the amount of $197,000, contingent on them meeting the city's responsible bid requirements, that a contingency amount be approved, increasing the total project budget to $216,700, and authorize the assistant city manager and finance director to amend the budget to allow for an appropriation from capital project fund balance in the amount of $20,269 and sign any relevant contract documents.
Councilman Hayter, supported by Councilwoman Stringham on item 5868, the City Hall Backup Generator Bid Revised Award. Any further comments from council? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder? Hayter? Stilgrave? Vining? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 5783, River Raisin Dam Removal and Sewer Relocation Bid Award.
Mr. Cochran.
Yes, so what we've got is a bid award proposed to Salem Bean Trucking and Excavating to conduct the work for the remove and repair of Dam 4 as part of the River Raisin Restoration Project, primarily funded through NOAA. But if you'd like, Director of Public Services and Engineering Patrick Lewis can offer more information as to the scope of the project and what this includes.
Is there any questions from council? I know the fact sheet was pretty detailed, talks about the process and also the expansion. I think that's great to see, and I know this goes within our goals and objectives and about our waterway. So if there's no questions, be looking for Councilwoman Germaini.
I'll move that a contract for the River Raisin Dam removal and sewer relocation project be awarded to Sallenbine Trucking and Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $777,944, and that a total of $820,000 be encumbered to include a 5% overall project contingency, and that the mayor and clerk treasurer be authorized to execute the contracts on behalf of the city.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Germain, supported by Councilwoman Stilgrave on item 5783, the River Raisin Dam removal and sewer relocation bid award. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaine?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Hayter? Stillgrave? Vining? Mayor Clark?
Yes, I'm just going to make a comment I was going to make before, and I knew I was here, I read it, but it says this grant requires no match funds from the city. So those are always nice to have as well. This kind of funding for this significant size of a project is great, so it's no grant match funds from the city. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is item 5861, consideration of offer to purchase 719 West 4th Street.
Assistant Manager Cochran.
So this was a piece of city-owned property that we received an offer to purchase from two of the adjacent property owners. What we've typically done in the past is if it's a non-buildable lot, meaning the lot is a size that, according to our zoning ordinance, could not be built on, the past practice of council has been to divide a non-buildable lot in half and offer half to each of the adjacent property owners. However, if it is a buildable lot, we have generally maintained ownership of those in the event that they could be built for a new productive use, such as a new residential housing unit. So this property does have a bit of backstory to it. This was a property that was sold at a tax auction to an individual in California who bought it sight unseen. You may recall you had previously approved a demolition agreement to demolish the house with the condition that we took ownership of it. And so that is how we acquired the property. It had a demolition order on it. It was deemed dangerous and unsafe. We acquired it, demolished the site, and it's a vacant lot right now. It is a lot that's a buildable size, but the two adjacent property owners, and I'll say Mr. Vanasacker did a great very thorough staff report about the considerations relative to this offer. But what they are asking is to basically divide the lot in half. It's two properties on Union Street, 727 West 4th Street, and also 409 Union Street. To acquire that lot, divide it in half, and add the half to their own portion, essentially to make their yards bigger, possibly build a garage onto it. And so while it could be a lot that could be used for a new residential property, there's a map in your agenda packet tonight that would show it does square off and align the new property lines if you were to consider conveyance of the property to match the rest of the block on Union going between 7th and 8th Street, and also, again, put it back into productive tax use being combined with two residential lots that we no longer have to maintain. But the consideration is it could be used in the future as a new residential development. However, they are offering $20,000 to purchase that. And the outcome would be lot dimensions, lot shapes that would match the rest of the neighborhood, as well as put it back into their own productive use. So that is what's in the agreement and proposal for City Council to decide tonight.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Cochran? Councilman Hayter?
I move to accept Sharon Jordan and Tom Keen's offer to purchase equal parts of 719 West 4th Street, parcel 19-00345-000 for a sum of $20,000. Authorize the city administration to draft the necessary documents to purchase and initiate the division of parcel 19-00345-000 equally to both 727 West 4th Street, parcel 19-00346-000 and 409 Union Street, parcel 19-00347-000, and authorize the mayor and clerk treasurer to execute the purchase agreement and sale.
Support.
By Councilman Hayter, supported by Councilwoman Stringham, item 5861, consideration to offer purchase 719 West 4th Street. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaine?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder? Hayter? Stillgrave? Vining?
Yeah.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item is item 5869, purchase agreement, parcel 2 of 317 West Front Street.
This project, or this agenda item, is relative to the construction of the new Greenway Loop Trail that actually started construction this past week. You may have noticed some activity on the old rail line between Front Street and 7th Street that will connect into the countywide loop trail. But you may recall this was a property that we had to work with MB Properties, also Vectrum, the mill on Front Street. They own some property that we needed to acquire to facilitate the construction of the trail. Mr. Vanasacker did an excellent job communicating with them, negotiating with them on the agreement that you have tonight. Part of that was that we would agree to splitting off the property that we would that was needed into 2 different lots, as well as change the zoning for new residential use, which were actions that were previously taken by council. So what the agreement that you have before you tonight is to actually purchase the 1 lot that we need to facilitate construction. With the conditions, we would purchase it for $29,620.80, complete the zoning classifications for the new lots, which we've already done, and install a new privacy fence along the eastern boundary of the newly created parcel in a section of the property line that abuts the new residential lot that will be for sale. One item to note, the agenda that is in your packet this evening was updated after the agenda went out. So we passed out a revised agreement to you that was on your at your seat when you walked in tonight. The one change is in section 8 that deals with the closing, and that is at closing, we would be responsible for the transfer taxes and all closing costs, including title insurance. The construction for the trail project itself is funded by a Spark grant that we received from the DNR. The property acquisition is not eligible for to utilize the grant funds for, but we do have funds available in the trail millage project to complete the acquisition, including all the requirements to go along with it. So this would be to purchase the 1 property to complete construction of the trail. And again, we just have to approve the amended version that was before you tonight, not the one in your packet.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Cochran on the item and, of course, the amendment, which will need to be in the motion on item 5869? It's the purchase agreement with the addition regarding the Section 8 closing costs from the trail millage be included. Any comments or questions? If not, Councilwoman Stringham.
I move to approve the purchase of parcel 2 of 317 West Front Street, newly created parcel 29-00404-034 for a sum of $29,620.80, and authorize the mayor and city clerk treasurer to execute the purchase agreement and documentation necessary to complete the acquisition, including the amendment that was provided to us tonight.
Support.
It is a motion by Councilwoman Stringham, supported by Councilwoman Germaini on item 5869, the purchase agreement parcel 2 of 317 West Front Street, and as amended. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder? Yes. Hayter? Yes. Stilgrave?
Yes.
Vining?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes. I'm sorry, next item.
No, it's
please.
okay. Item 5873, LETC request for placement of millage renewal proposal on the August 2026 ballot.
This is a request that the city council received from Mr. Hensley, the general manager for Lake Erie Transit, requesting that their millage renewal, which is a 3-year, 1 mil millage, be placed on the August 4th, 2026 ballot. And city council must approve that to go on the ballot. So that request is up for your consideration this evening for the August 4th election.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Councilwoman Germaini, I know what you're going to
Do
ask.
I need to abstain from this vote since I employed at Lake Erie Transit? I think I should.
Yeah, I see Attorney Buds shaking his head yes.
It would be appropriate under these circumstances, and unless any of the other council have any questions, I have no issue with that.
Yeah, I would agree. The millage is for obviously service provided, but also for the personnel who provide that service. So I think it's appropriate as well, unless council sees otherwise. With that, we need a motion regarding this item number. Councilman Felder.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the placement of LETC's millage renewal proposal on the ballot for the August 4th, 2026 primary election, and that the clerk treasurer transmit this information to the county clerk for placement on the ballot.
Motion by Councilman Felder, supported by Councilman Hayter on item 5873, the LETC request for placement of the millage renewal proposal on the August 2026 ballot. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaine. Stringham.
Yes.
Felder. Hayter. Stillgrave. Vining. Mayor Clark.
Yes. Next item, please.
D867, Professional Services Agreement with Sincar Consulting Group for High Property Neighborhood Development Sub-Area Plan.
Thank you. Acting Manager Robinson. Sorry. See, you say it all the time. I get to the ending. That's it. Cochran.
This item is a delivery of one of your priority goals that you expressed to us earlier this year to look at, also in line with the residential housing strategy that was adopted by council, to look at what are the sites that we have available throughout the city to meet the housing needs of our community. The high property is the vacant property that is currently farmed and owned by the city. It's about just over 100 acres, north of Mason Run, south of the Greenwood Housing Complex, and west of the railroad tracks. What we're proposing and the direction that you provided us was to explore what that property can be used for in the future. So much like we've done with other sites from the former Lazy Boy headquarters site and others, is to work with a professional consulting group to come up with a master plan for that property that explores what types of housing the market could support in the different formats across the entire stretch of that property. Also work with the Housing Commission in Greenwood on their future plans that may include expansion of the Greenwood development and how the property may meet their needs. Looking also at what are the future infrastructure needs. So along with our capital improvements process where we forecast out 5 years, in order for this property to be used for a residential development, what do we need to start thinking about now in terms of infrastructure needs across that site? And looking at what the market can support. One significant component that we have in this project is community engagement. So involving both the community overall, but also the adjacent residential neighborhoods, whether that be Michigan Avenue, where the rear of their properties abut this neighborhood. Also the Mason Run, Greenwood, and others to get their feedback on potential plans as we move forward and market that site for possible development. And then also green space, open space, park space, and those sorts of amenities. So we did put this out to bid, and we did receive 5 proposals. They were listed in the fact sheet, as well as the items that we looked for when we scored each of the projects. We did interview 3 of the design firms, and we included representatives from the Planning Commission as well, given these types of projects often come before them for their consideration and input before it comes to you for final presentation. But what the group ultimately ended up is recommending Sincar Consulting Group, also known as C2G. That is the firm that we have worked with on several projects throughout the city, including the update of the Mason Run 2.0 plan, when we updated the PUD for the construction that's underway with the completion of that segment of the Mason Run neighborhood. Edge Group, which is the landscaping consulting group, Urban Design Associates, who wrote the first Mason Run PUD book, so they're very familiar with the area, with the neighborhood, as well as they helped provide input in the Mason Run 2.0 project. And then Collier's Engineering and Design to help with the infrastructure forecasting. And so all told, what we're proposing is to award the project in the amount of $152,000. This was budgeted as one of our projects for this year, but also we do have support from the state of Michigan and the Treasury Department. They have helped us on numerous projects, including most recently the residential market analysis that we presented to City Council. So they're proposing to fund 50% of that. That grant agreement will be on your council agenda May 4th. We just received it today. So The city's commitment will be $77,000, which will be paid partially out of this current fiscal year as well as the next fiscal year's budget that you approved this evening. So again, this aligns with your goal for residential housing, but also to look at the future of that property overall.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Hearing none, a motion would be in order. Councilwoman Stringham.
I move that City Council award a professional service contract to Syncars Consulting Group for $152,000 for the professional services work for the High Property Neighborhood Development Sub-Area Plan for a total not to exceed $152,000. That the Assistant City Manager, Director of Economic and Community Development be authorized to execute any necessary agreements on behalf of the city, and further authorize the Assistant City Manager, Finance Director to execute the necessary budget amendments.
Motion by Councilwoman Stringham, supported by Councilwoman Steelgrave on item 5867, the professional service agreement with C2G for High Property Neighborhood Development Sub-Area Plan. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaine?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Hayter? Stillgrave?
Yes.
Vining? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item, please.
The next item is item 5863, establish public hearing date for the former St. Mary Academy Brownfield Plan.
Mr. Cochran.
During this evening's work session, we provided an overview of two brownfield plans that were recently approved by the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. The first was for the redevelopment of St. Mary's Academy, which includes both traditional brownfield activities and housing activities, to move that project forward in partnership with KM Cornerstone. And so the next step in that process would be for City Council to schedule a public hearing date, which we're proposing for Monday, May 18th at 7:30 p.m. To hear and receive comments before final approval for that, which then must go to the state of Michigan and MISTA for their final approval before that plan is finally approved.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, Councilwoman Germaine.
Move that City Council schedule a public hearing on the proposed brownfield plan for the former St. Mary Academy property on Monday, May 18th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. to hear and receive comments.
It's a motion by Councilwoman Germaine, supported by Councilwoman Steelgrave on item 5863, establish a public hearing date for the former St. Mary Academy Brownfield Plan. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaine?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Hayter? Stillgrave? Vining? Mayor Clark?
Yes.
The next item is item 5864, establish public hearing date for Community Reimagined Brownfield Plan.
Mr. Cochran.
This is the second brownfield plan that was approved by the authority, and this is for the two vacant lots that are owned by the city at 1026 and 1030. The council has an approved agreement with Community Reimagine for the redevelopment of those two properties for 6 new residential units, two units per building, 3 buildings on the property. And again, this is a housing brownfield plan that follows the same process as the academy. So after you hold the public hearing and approve it, it'll go to MISTA for final approval to help facilitate that redevelopment and provide financial assistance.
Any questions from council? Otherwise, motion would be in order. Councilwoman Steelgrave.
Move that the City Council schedule a public hearing on the proposed brownfield plan for the Community Reimagined Welcome Homes project at 1026 and 1030 East 2nd Street on Monday, May 18th, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. to hear and receive comments.
Motion by Councilman Steelgrave, supported by Councilman Stringham on item 5864, establish public hearing date for Community Reimagined Brownfield Plan. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaine? Yes. Stringham?
Yes.
Felder?
Yes.
Hayter? Stillgrave?
Yes.
Vining? Mayor Clark?
Yes. Next item.
The next item was the additional item amended, when the agenda was amended, acting city manager.
Thank you. Mr. Butts.
Your Honor and Council, as you know, at the 7 o'clock meeting, you took certain action which would leave currently the office of the city manager vacant. as I think it would be appropriate then to talk about what next steps might be. I have spoken with Dr. Everly, Mr. Sell, and Mr. Cochran about a number of topics relating to that item. The first one, I think, is to clarify and address the issue of acting city manager until the council would take further action. So I would be happy to engage in any dialogue about that. I think it goes, hopefully it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that I think the city is in a very fortunate position to have quality individuals such as Mr. Sell and Mr. Cochran, both with the title of assistant city manager. And so I think the dialogue would be about filling the role of city manager as acting city manager until such time as the council would further act. And then I've also had dialogue with Dr. Everly that I think would be appropriate for the work session topic at the first meeting in May to be the item of city manager transition and planning.
Any questions for Mr. Buds? I know that council has some thoughts on like what process, and I think this is helpful knowing at the next meeting in May, we'll start to have that dialogue with council, what that might look like in a permanent sense and a long opportunity to, we've been through different processes in the past, and how do we look and how does council think about that? So I would say bring those items forward, unless you wish to do now, but as we start planning that process, what does that look like? And there's many ways in which that those search and process begins, but at this time tonight, it's about identifying the acting city manager. Any questions or comments from council members? So what do you need further, Mr. Buds?
Your Honor and Council, I think it would be appropriate if there was a determination as to the individual that would be the acting city manager. I will say, knowing the working relationship between the two, Mr. Cochran and Mr. Sell, I do not expect any issues in terms of that. I know both, as the mayor had mentioned, Mr. Sell had served in that role under a prior transition. Obviously, in Mr. Cochran's employment agreement, as we talked about earlier, it talks about that it would manage city operational duties in the city manager's absence. I think it would just be clarity for the staff as to which route the council wished to proceed. And I think no matter your decision, you'll be in good hands between the two of them working together and with all of the department heads of the city.
From council? Mr. Cochran has been involved more in the day-to-day operations, not that Mr. Sell isn't, but from a finance side of his duties there. Councilwoman Stringham.
Are you looking for a motion on which person that we would, so I would be glad to make a motion that Mr. Cochran be the assistant or the interim city manager at this time.
I'm sorry, if I may just be clear, because I think in some transitions, people would use the term interim different than they would acting. The ordinance talks about acting, and then I think at the next meeting, we'll talk about whether there's an interim or a final and what path the council would want to go. So I could envision, and I don't want to jump too far ahead of Dr. Everly in that, but you could have acting, you could have interim, you could have a permanent solution. I think in this case, in light of the ordinance, I think I understand your intention, but I'd prefer if we use the term acting rather than interim, if that's okay with you.
All right, well, I make a motion that we nominate, or that we name Mark Cochran as the acting city manager at this time.
Councilwoman Stringham, supported by Councilman Hayter, to take action to make Mark Cochran be our acting city manager at this time. Further comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Stringham?
Yes.
Felder? Yes. Hayter? Yes. Steelgrave? Yes. Vining? Yes. Mayor Clark?
Yes. Now, next item.
I have no further items this evening, Your Honor.
Okay, well, it's still April, so Councilwoman Germaini, comments this evening.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, Earth Day is Wednesday, and this coming Saturday at the college, they'll be celebrating with a lot of activities for kids inside the gym. That will be from 11 to 2, but before that, there is an electric vehicle show on the other parking lot right next to this that will be brought, that's the college that is doing that, and they have vehicles that you can drive that are electric. We will have a bus at both. So that's a great day to get the family out and lots of activities and prizes for the kiddos. inside.
Thank you. Councilwoman Stringham.
So this morning at my house, it was 28. And I know you're thinking that winter's never going to leave, but it is, because I see in the weather that it's going to be a high of 77 on Thursday. So the weather seems like the pattern is changing. Good time to get out, and we've got an opportunity to, as a community, plant some trees on Saturday. So I plan on going, and I hope to see a few people join us. It'll be at Village Green Lane, and be 8:45 a.m. until, I believe, around noon. So feel free to come out, bring your muscle, and help us out.
Thank you. And I believe that's posted on the city's website and social media pages as well. So thank you for mentioning that. Councilman Felder.
Thank you, Your Honor. There was quite a bit on this evening's agenda on the issue of housing and economic development that we're experiencing throughout the city. And I wanted to comment that I really appreciate seeing the aggressive momentum that we're having on the fronts of housing. I think it affects positively affordability, accessibility, development and growth that we're experiencing as a city, both in terms of population and in terms of financial and economically. So it's really good that we're seeing that growth and development, and I hope that it continues into the future. Thank you. That's all I have for this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilman Hayter.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to thank the Public Safety Department on behalf of the United Way staff, the United Way Board, and the United Way Executive Committee. Recently, our trailer was stolen that basically helps us put up wheelchair ramps for the disabled and the needy in the community. And with the help of the Public Safety Department and the use of their flock cameras, we were able to retrieve that trailer. So thank you.
Councilwoman Stilgrave. Councilwoman Vining.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I am excited and anxious to move forward with all of the community and economic development that's going on, and look forward to seeing more and learning more about the various projects that are happening around housing and economic development. Very exciting, and also very thrilled to submit the application for the Community Block Grant Disaster Relief, $5 million, and that sounds like a lot, but we could use more than that even to remediate some of the flooding in the Orchard East neighborhood. I know we've done a few things in the past, putting the Patrick knows what I'm trying to say. The two drains, oh my God, the word is escaping me, but we put one in the Orchard neighborhood and one going out to the Edison properties to stop some of that flooding. And it seemed like it worked really well for a while, but I don't know if the rain events are getting worse or pumps, that's the word I was looking for. And so I'm excited to see what further improvements that'll go on in that area of getting, stopping that flooding in the neighborhood. So thanks for all the hard work to all the departments involved.
Thank you. My comments were similar to Councilman Felder and Councilwoman Vining about housing. It's one of the primary and lead goals that we have, objectives as a council that we set at starting this term, but also last term, and how long it takes to get there. It's a lot of hard work. There's items on the council action night. There was 3 there. We had the one earlier on the consent. And it made me think about how we are moving forward and the funding that Councilwoman Vining said for the CDBG and the opportunity to possibly receive, the $5 million of development for the Orchard East neighborhood. All that together, last meeting we talked about a resolution we passed that we sent off to Lansing. As we know, the housing and community ability to make your own decisions and our planning is being kind of challenged out of the state legislation. They want to have one size fits all. And we've sent that resolution of, we thought that we have done things. One of the items here also was about our planning. I think the city here is showing how local governments with the local community can meet the needs of housing. It takes time, and I think if they see what's just tonight's agenda, along with last week's, the idea that local communities and local control, local authority to build and put housing is working. I think that this has been very productive for all the time, in fact, in which we've worked toward this. But House bills that are wanting to take that authority away from local governments, and I think about that, and I think about our planning commission and their input, how they put in residents sitting at the table saying, this is what we want our community to be. And as a staff and the great work they've done and how we got here today. So I want to just say great thanks to the administration and the staff for these items that we've worked so hard for and put as priorities. And I think we have the opportunities to bring this to fruition here this year in the numerous projects, not to mention the ones that are already started, right? So those are my comments this evening. So Clerk Treasurer Lavoy.
I just wanted to thank council for the approval of the non-union employment agreement that was for the new assistant clerk in the clerk's office. I want to thank Dr. Everly and her department for all of their hard work on helping us secure another great candidate for a position here at City Hall. It's been a long time coming. The clerk's office and the treasurer's office is complex, and it'll be good to have a partner on that side of the tasks. So I really appreciate it more than you know. So thank you, and the team is really coming together. We're having a great time and getting a lot done, and that's really great to be able to say. So thank you again for your support with that position. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Before I go to the acting city manager, Cochran, I had one more thing I want to just clarify. When I think about Lansing and there's around the state, those that are pushing that legislation that would impact us, our state representatives, all of those that represent the city of Monroe, we have 3 that support maintaining the local authority and ability to make decisions at the local level regarding our planning, our housing, and our development. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware that our representatives are supportive, and we greatly appreciate their support in Lansing on this project. Acting City Manager Cochran.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, in my 9 years working here, that doesn't include the time that I spent in high school at the front desk and in the clerk treasurer's office, where some of you watched me get raised into my adulthood. But it's an extreme and profound honor to walk into this building every day and work on behalf of our residents. And I mean it when I say I'm truly proud and privileged to work alongside so many dedicated people, smart people who are smarter than I am, to do the work that you expect and that our residents expect day in and day out, and work so hard to do it. All at the same time of upholding the mission, the vision, and the values that you established for our city overall to strive to live by every day and try and achieve. And I want to thank you for entrusting me to serve in this seat for however long it may be. Certainly big shoes to fill for city managers who have come well before me, but I want to recognize Dave's 3 years of service to the city and the opportunity I had to work alongside him. But also I want to thank you for entrusting me and putting your faith and your confidence in me. I'll do my best every day to live up to it, but that's not to say I'm not going to need you and your support and your feedback and communication that I know we enjoy so equally together. But also you mentioned Assistant City Manager Ed Sell, Dr. Everly, Mr. Buds, certainly relying on their strength and expertise. But every single person who works in the city provides great value in the work that they do. And I'm fortunate to just be one piece of it. And I also want to recognize you made a lot of comments tonight about the work that the Economic and Community Development Department are doing. I want to say it's not just our department, but we work alongside every single department to carry those things forward. And it's been great collaboration, great teamwork, but also Matt is here tonight. So I'm especially grateful for your comments that he could hear them because he's led so many of these things forward and brought the staff together to carry your goals and your priorities and your objectives across the finish line, or at least start the race to get those across the finish line. So thank you for supporting him in his position and his growth here at the city that we've certainly seen in his time here. So I'm just expressing my gratitude to you, and I look forward to working closer together with you and also the staff and the residents in this capacity.
Thank you. Next is citizens' comments. So, citizens' comments, if those present here this evening who wish to make comments, just we ask you to step forward, state your jurisdiction of residence, your name and jurisdiction of residence, and mindful of the rules of 3 minutes, please. Those here present this evening wish to make comments. I don't think that's the case. Please step forward.
Hello, my name is Christian Vukasovic. I live here in Monroe. I'm running to be your next representative for the U.S. House of Representatives against Tim Walberg in the election this November. And I just wanted to introduce myself, tell you that I'm here, and I'll be sticking around afterwards to answer any questions you have and talk about the issues that matter most to you. So I hope to have a chance to talk. Thank you very much.
And as and stay around for a minute.
Oh, okay, great.
I say after, I'll see you after, but when we get those that run for office that come here, and what you said is exactly how it's appropriate to say who you are, and that way people get to see you. You're not saying in a platform, you're not saying all the good things you'll do, and I guess I appreciate the knowing that's what it's for here at public meetings, just to introduction like we would our current representatives or who it may be, or those that are running. We just ask that you say hello, who you are, and that this is what you're doing. So that does serve the purpose. I appreciate that for keeping
No
it for that
problem.
short.
I appreciate brevity myself. This is the people's time, and my time will be out in the hall.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you. Other comments from those present here this evening? Yes, sir. Please step forward. Name, jurisdiction of residence, and 3 minutes.
Omar Furden, city resident. I just wanted to come up here. Everybody comes complains and all that. You guys always have rough jobs. I was excited to hear about the storm drains in Orchard's community, all that. I wish more people were here to see that. I'll be happy to tell people that when I run around the neighborhood. So thank you guys. That's all I just wanted to say. Go team, go.
Thanks, Omar. Appreciate it. Other comments from those present here this evening? Any further comments? Oh, we have one more. Coming from
Hello. I know it's probably weird to see me up here because I'm usually in my dark AV room. But good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Clerk Lavoie, Acting City Manager Cochran, and Attorney Butts. My name is Genevieve Benson. I'm the Creative Director of a small 501c3 organization. It's really a hidden gem living on the 3rd floor of City Hall, actually. Most people will recognize our nonprofit as Impact, or Monroe Public Access Cable Television. Well, I'm really excited to let you all know that we have changed to Monroe Community Media. And I know that Mark referenced that earlier in the work session this evening, and I'm super grateful for all the kind words that you said about us. We appreciate our collaboration with the city. So with this change has come a revitalization of our mission, which is and has always been media education for the community. We provide free and affordable services to local nonprofits, local businesses, and residents here in Monroe County. In other words, we're a makerspace and we're a media archive for Monroe County. We have our own community radio station, emphasis on community. We also have, of course, our own public access channels on cable. I'd really love to encourage everyone here in City Council and also everyone here attending the meeting tonight to please take advantage of our resources. You can either start your own radio show, you can do a podcast, you can do a TV show, documentary series, whatever you want to do, whether you're representing the city as a elected official, or as an individual if you want to share your passion, like your favorite music or hunting or painting, whatever you want to do. The sky is really the limit in terms of creativity, and we provide the tools for that. Like I said before, we're super grateful to be in close partnership with the city of Monroe. In fact, Jody Egan actually sits on our board of directors. I love working with her and the communications team here. I've actually worked on the ALCC expansion series, as well as a bunch of other media projects that really highlight the great work that you all do. So if you want to learn more about what kind of projects you can do with us, you can go to our new website, monroecommunitymedia.org. You can watch our introduction video that I made. You might find it inspiring. And if you have any community events that you want to share, you can come to our radio station and do it for free. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. That's fabulous. Thank you. Other comments from those present here this evening? Any final comments? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Germaini, supported by Councilman Felder to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilperson Germaini?
Yes.
Karen? Yes. Felder?
Yes.
Hader?
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes.
Vining?
Yeah.
Mayor Clark?
Yes, thank you all for being here and those that are watching. Good evening.